I know this is gonna sound crazy, but The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is one of my favorite Zelda games. Now, before you get all judgy, hear me out. We're about to get into it, so let's do this. So if you're a Zelda fan, of course you know that Zelda games are extremely story and lore heavy, but this game is where it all begins. This is the beginning of the lore, the beginning of the history. We get to find out how all of the events in the other games started. We get to see the very first incarnations of Link and Zelda, their relationship, which it's definitely heavily implied in this game that there might be a little bit of romance between the two, which I love. A lot of fans like to ship Link and Zelda, but there's really not a lot to back it up in the other games. And this game, you can definitely feel the relationship from childhood friends into a blossoming romance. I mean, there's even a song that's called Romance in the Air, which is probably one of the best songs in the game, by the way. But our main characters, Link and Zelda aside, there's lots of really interesting characters in Skyward Sword. I of course have to mention our boy Groose, who has probably one of the best character development arcs in the game. He starts out as the school bully. You kind of hate the guy. He's kind of obnoxious. But by the end of it, he's really come around and he's realized that while his role is very different than the role that Link and Zelda have to play, he still has a very important role in saving Zelda. And while she may get a lot of hate for her constant reminding you that, Master, your Wiimote batteries are low, Fi really grew on me. I'm with y'all. I thought she was going to be another Navi at first, but by the end of it, I really felt attached to Fi. I felt that we'd had this journey together. She kind of got a sense of emotions. You could tell that she understood what feelings and emotions were by the end of the game. And we mentioned earlier, music, Romance in the Air, one of the best. Fi's Farewell is the absolute best track in that entire game, and nothing can change my mind about it. And if you think about it, Fi has been in the Master Sword this entire time, throughout all of the games with the various incarnations of Link. So she's been with us throughout this entire journey. And even now in Breath of the Wild, going into Tears of the Kingdom, which the Master Sword gets broken, is Fi okay? And to wrap up this nice little synopsis of wonderful characters in Skyward Sword, I of course have to mention Girahim, who is probably one of my favorite villains in the Legend of Zelda series. He's this really dark, dramatic, evil character, and you don't really see a lot of villains in Zelda go as dark as he does. I mean, at one point, there's even a quote where he says, "I'll make the affair so excruciating you'll deafen yourself with the shrill sound of your own screams." That's a lot for a Zelda game, in my opinion. We don't really see a lot of that. I just feel like Skyward Sword as a whole isn't given enough credit for its stories, its characters, the character development, the character designs. And I know a lot of fans were really iffy about the kind of watercolory design of like the visuals throughout the entire game, but I thought they were really pretty. I thought it was a really clever way to play with distance and perspective. Things that were farther away were kind of this really blended watercolor design. And of course, as you got closer, they came into more focus, they became clearer. So I've always thought that was a really neat thing to do. And I think this design and art style has also aged very, very well. The series received criticism for going way too cartoony with the Toon Link style in Wind Waker, and then was criticized a bit for going too mature with Twilight Princess. It was a very dark, very realistic Zelda game. So Skyward Sword is kind of that in between. It kind of meshes the two together in a really beautiful way. Something that Skyward Sword does receive quite a few compliments about from most of the fan base is the dungeons in the game and the puzzles that come with those. And if you think about it, this was the last Zelda console release to have traditional dungeons. And this game came out in 2011. It's been 12 years. 13 years, 12 years, yes. The dungeon designs themselves are really cool. Fire Sanctuary and Ancient Cistern being some of my favorites. Motion controls play a pretty huge part in solving the puzzles within these dungeons. Like something that we discovered fairly early on in the dungeons was making the eyeball dizzy by like swinging your sword in a circle. And I hate to admit it, it took me a little too long to figure this one out the very first time I played the game. Once I figured it out, I was like, oh, that's actually kind of clever. And then even like some of the items that you receive to help you in the dungeons, like the beetle, are really fun. You get to take over this little beetle and use the motion controls to like navigate, fly around, pick up items, drop bombs, hit buttons. And yeah, okay, the motion controls could be a little finicky at times. I never really had too many issues, but thankfully with the HD remaster, they gave us traditional controls, which definitely helped fix a lot of those issues that fans had with the motion controls. I just really think between the characters, the lore, the dungeons, the really cool mechanics that they incorporated with motion controls, yes, I am a fan of the motion controls, Skyward Sword is a really underrated and underappreciated Zelda game. And with the upcoming release of Tears of the Kingdom, my little Skyward Sword heart is hoping that we will see references to Skyward Sword and Tears of the Kingdom with all the floating islands. I've already caught glimpses of certain island shapes that look similar to ones that we saw in Skyward Sword. So maybe we'll get some nice little Skyward Sword Easter eggs in Tears of the Kingdom. And that's basically in a nutshell why I love Skyward Sword so much. If you haven't played this game, I highly recommend it, especially before Tears of the Kingdom comes out, because I have a feeling we're gonna be seeing some Skyward Sword references. Thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up button, and I will see you all next time. Bye.